going to be going back to my roots of flipping some furniture. I used to do this for years for my business, and I kind of got out of the practice of it other than a few projects for myself here and there. But now that I'm just working from home a little bit part-time, I've wanted to do a few little things on the side, and today I'm going to share with you how I flipped this little desk, another little table that I actually kept, and then I'm going to share a few things that I found at yard sales and thrift stores over this past month. I actually filmed a before video of all the pieces I found and the prices and everything, so let's go ahead and get right into that. So these are just a few of the pieces that I picked up over the last week or so at yard sales and Habitat. The first one is this a little bit low, almost like entryway table. The top comes off for some reason, don't know why, but I love the legs on it. The top has beautiful wood, so I'm hoping to just restore that and refresh it. This one is just a cheap little side table, but I love the legs and I thought it would be a fun little piece for somebody's home. This one I picked up at Habitat for $29. In fact, this one I think was $8. This one was $20, I believe. I'm hoping to flip these. Let's see, the secretary and the little piece, the little side table, the entryway piece is going to be used. Also, I also grabbed I snagged a $10 bench that has a horrible paint job. I'll post a picture of it here. Anyway, today's video is going to be about redoing this piece specifically. I might include the staining on this if I have enough time, but for now, I just wanted to show you the before so you can appreciate the after. I also have some other small finds and some art that I snagged. First up is this little English stoneware creamer. It was only 25 cents, probably because it had a little chip, but I mean, for 25 cents, I'll add it to my collection. And then these books, I paid a little more for, $5 each, I believe, but they're very old, great shape, and I really loved the colors. The Bobbsey twins, a few of them, love the cover of that one. And then a Heidi in blue, and I love this blue. So pretty good condition, and I thought they made a great little accent. I'll show you how I styled them at the end. I also snagged a set of hair curlers, a brand new Shark steam mop, and a hot pot. Never get electronics, but I couldn't pass them up. The hair curlers were $2. Next, I found these two prints at Habitat for Humanity. They are from the 80s, actually. They are the height of the shabby chic look, and I have seen that kind of making a comeback, so I grabbed them. I'm debating on whether or not I want to paint the frames, or do I frame them in matching frames and mats so that they look like a set. Drop a comment below and let me know your preference on that. I'm really torn. You can actually get the prints for like $95 each, so definitely worth the $25 that I snagged the set for. All right, let's go ahead and get into flipping this little desk. It's definitely old. The legs were very strong. The drawer was great. It had good bones, so it was worth the $29 that I paid for it. It just needed a cosmetic facelift. It really was looking shabby. So I started with the inside just because I wasn't entirely sure what I was going to do with it. I then found a bunch of old sheet music that is like late 1800s. I've been reselling a lot of these on Facebook Marketplace, but I still have a lot left. I wanted to add something in the inside of the desk just to make a cute pop when somebody opened it up. I always love, kind of like the inside of a purse when it has a fun fabric. That was kind of the look I was going for this. But the sheet music or music didn't seem to really tie in with the whole desk theme. Then I thought I would use this peel and stick wallpaper that kind of has a fun print on it, and maybe go a little bit more moody with a dark blue on the outside. I had these arrow handles that I thought went somewhat well with the whole theme. It was a little narrow for the space. I didn't want to have seams on the top, so opted out on that. But then I fell in love with this little silhouette on the front of one of the sheet music pieces. I got started thinking about Jane Austen and how she had a little writing desk, and that was kind of her thing. I was starting to feel inspired by that and decided to run with that and see where it took me. First off, I'm going to go ahead and take off the hardware, and decided to keep that because it did kind of work with the theme I'm going with now. I did get a little distracted for a moment because I thought I had found some keys that fit. It actually started moving the latch, but no luck in the long run. They just ended up too stuck to even open. Bummer. Okay, now that I'm back to reality, let's go ahead and get her sanded. I use an orbital sander for a rough sand like this, just a nice medium grit sandpaper, and I'm trying to break the surface as far as give it grit for the paint to stick to. I'm not trying to strip it down. It has way too many layers to do that. I wasn't interested in taking it back to its original wood. It did look like it had had some repairs in the past, so didn't want to risk that. Going to go ahead and just give it a good thorough sand everywhere. I did hit the surface of the desk one more time just because I know that's going to be used the most and I wanted it to adhere really well. Going to go ahead and dive into painting the desktop, give it a good base coat. Not 100% sure what color at this point I'm going to do, but I knew I was going to do an off-white on the whole piece. I am using General Finishes Antique White. I often use Alabaster, which is kind of halfway between Antique White and their Snow White. It gives a nice off-white without being actually cream or being stark white, and it really fits older pieces. Definitely one of my favorite paints to use. I've used it for years and years now. I used to sell it in my shop. Highly recommend it. I'll put a link in the description for all the products that I used if you want to get those. You can order most of this on Amazon. The paint is a little bit pricier when compared to acrylic paint, but you often don't have to prime. The coverage is excellent and it is extremely durable, especially for furniture. Painting around the hinges was a little bit difficult, but I will warn you, if you're ever taking a desk apart, it is a little hard to get it back together and have it really accurate for closure. So I was trying to avoid that at all costs. I've done it before. I've ruined pieces by doing that and didn't want to take that risk. So I'm just being very, very careful opening and closing it, and it can be done maybe even with a small brush. Just a little something I've learned from experience. And can we take note of the coverage of this, because it is giving very good coverage over red. White over red is a high contrast and not always the easiest to do, but I had 2 good coats and a little bit of touch-up and she was good. And of course, being the klutz that I am, I ended up biffing this corner and knocking the trim off. I could not get the piece to fit back in there properly again. I tried with some fancy glue, so I ended up having to sand it down, and then I just added layers of wood putty until it matched the other corner, and I was able to sand that down, and you'll see later on it's not even obvious at all. And because I'm also impatient when it comes to projects and I didn't want to wait for that to finish drying, I ended up painting the entire frame. You can see here I popped my headset on just to listen to something to pass the time. What do you do when you're working on projects? I often listen to podcasts, sometimes music, but I'm just curious, what do you guys listen to when you're working on projects? I'm going to speed up some of these parts just because I feel like it's redundant to talk over the same thing over and over again, but I do want to show you the process. But on that note, do you prefer just small clips or do you want to see the whole process sped up? I can do either. I always go back and forth between what is more entertaining, but also what is more practical when I'm trying to show you how to do a process. So let me know in the comments below what you think. Okay, now while that's drying, I'm going to go ahead and pop back into the inside. I decided to go with this creamy yellow color because it matched the silhouette that I was going to cut out of the sheet music for the front. So I'm going to go ahead and get 1 coat of paint on here. I have another little touch I'm going to add later that kind of goes with the Jane Austen theme, but you're going to have to wait to see what that is. This is actually another kind of paint. It's a chalk-based paint. It is by Blackberry House. I used to carry them as well. Very good, high-quality paint. Very much recommend it. Not sure if you can get it on Amazon, but I will find a link if I can. Now I'm just adding a little bit more white right up to the yellow so I make an even transition. Now back to the little corner repair. I'm going to go ahead and sand it down really well and just do my best to shape it to match the opposite corner. I did let this thoroughly dry. This is a couple days later, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a coat of paint on it to finish it off.
All right, now for a little Jane Austen inspiration. I asked ChatGPT for a couple suggestions as to what I could write. It gave me a couple excerpts from her books, but I really wanted it to seem more personal. So then I asked if there were any letters written by Jane Austen. It ended up giving me this one from Jane Austen to her dearest sister Cassandra. So I loved that it was personal. I felt like it will probably be a gal that's using this desk, and it just seemed like the perfect fit for it. So took a little bit of time. I just used a gold paint pen. I am going to sand it and seal it after I'm done, but just cursive writing, I know that's not a thing anymore. I harken back to my older years when I actually did learn cursive, and I am just writing it out as quickly as possible, trying not to be too perfect, as if I was just writing a letter to a friend. Here it is all done. Definitely not perfect, but I love the quaint look of it. I did want it to look a little bit older, so I did a light sanding over the whole surface just to rough it up a little bit and to also make it really smooth. Now for the silhouette on the front. I just wanted to add a little touch of character on the outside, and this matches the yellow perfectly. I know it's not Jane Austen, but for some reason it reminded me of that era. I went ahead and cut around it as carefully as possible. Grabbed some of my matte Mod Podge. If you haven't used Mod Podge before, again, I'll drop the link below for any of the products, but I love the matte for old furniture pieces if I don't want a high shine to them. It basically acts as a sealer and a glue for any sort of paper or fabric products. Because this paper is a little thicker, I did apply some to the surface of the desk first, and then I added some to the back of the paper before adhering together. Sometimes that can help with adhesion and make it a little bit stickier. Went ahead and centered it as best I could, just eyeballed it. I did use an old credit card to smooth it out a little bit before I put another top coat, or I put another coat on top. It just helps work the bubbles out a whole lot easier. You can also use your fingers or a rag. You just want to work from the center out to the sides. I layered a few coats on very thin because you don't want it to bubble up. If you do bubble, you can often put a little pinprick in it and smooth it out. Thankfully, this one did pretty well without it. After it was thoroughly dry, I did sand down the edges all the way around where I had put the Mod Podge. It had a little bit of a glue type texture or layer to it, and I wanted it to be smooth before I added a final top coat over the whole thing. Cleaned off any dust particles thoroughly, and then I added some General Finishes High Performance Flat Water-Based Top Coat. Highly recommend. Again, it is great for furniture, great for kitchen cabinets, and I've used it on many, many projects. It does give a very, very nice flat finish on older pieces. It seemed a little too pristine and perfect for such an old looking piece, so I did end up lightly sanding all of the edges. The red did show through, but because it was almost a wood tone, it was not obvious. It almost looked like there was a dark wood peeking through, and worked out just fine. Next up, I'm going to put the drawer back in and add the hardware. This drawer was a tiny bit sticky to start with just because of the layers of paint, and as pieces age, the wood dries out and it can create rub on the inside of the drawer. So a little trick that I've used over the years is either a candle or soap. The nice thing about soap is it has a scent to it and it adds that scent into the piece. So I'm just rubbing this little piece of bar soap over all of the wood that touches the wood inside the drawer, if that makes sense. So where there's any contact, top, bottom, sides of drawers, I went ahead and just rubbed it over the whole piece, and it is a game changer. Trust me, it is the best little tip I've ever used. If you have any sticky drawers, go grab a bar of soap and try it. I promise it will change things. You can see here that it sticks a little bit in the middle when I pull it in and out, so I went ahead and just went back in, rubbed some more soap in that area, and after that it was so smooth. I did end up putting some wax on the inside of the drawer just to freshen it up, and the hardware back on, and she's ready to go.
I'm not sure you can hear me over the air conditioning and my loud diesel, but I'm on my way to Habitat to hopefully add a chair to this cute little desk because I feel like a chair is going to make it more valuable. So the odds are low, but I'm hoping for the best.
They normally have tons of chairs, and they literally had 5 in the chair section when I got there. I was so bummed, but I looked around a little bit further and I scored this one, which I think is a great little addition. But should I paint it? Ugh, I don't know. Tell me what you think. Anyway, here she is in all her glory. I'll probably spend a little bit more time on it than I should have, but I had some fun with it. A great little piece for an entryway or a girl's room, maybe at the end of a hallway. I feel like it turned out pretty well, and hopefully she'll find a new home. I'm keeping this guy though. He's a great little assistant.
All right, that's it, you guys. Hope you found some inspiration from one of these pieces. Tell me in the comments below which piece you would have bought at a yard sale and what you would have paid for it. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this little desk on Facebook Marketplace and see how she does. And if she does well, maybe I'll have some other videos of flips that I do in the future. Either way, I'll be bringing you other content on my page, so I'd love it if you'd subscribe, and I'll see you next time.